What is it that you truly want? Not what you think what you should want, but what actually would give your life a meaning and fulfillment and satisfaction. And let us know in the chat, or if you're watching it on replay, just leave a comment. What is it that you truly want? Have you actually ever sat down to really think and feel into it? Because most people know what they don't want, but very, very seldom they have a clear picture of what they want. So they end up building their lives trying to escape stress at work, disconnection in relationships, feeling that something is missing. And when we operate from that place, from that something is missing, or we need to avoid something or to run away from something, all we notice are problems, obstacles, and evidence of things not working. Because whatever you focus on will expand. So if you focus on what you want to avoid and run away from, that will grow and you will take that into your next job, your next relationship. And that's why so many people literally create their life on auto repeat. The thing is, the reason why this happens is because our brains are wired for protection and safety, and it's default of the brain to scan for risk, for danger, not to help us grow and expand and step outside our comfort zone, the only place where true growth is possible. And that means that our growth isn't just automatic, it has to be intentional. So, in order to create something different, something new in your life, something that you haven't created repeatedly before, whether it's a career you're passionate about or a relationship where you feel valued and loved and supported, or maybe it's your purpose that you wake up with a sense of meaning and excitement every day, you've got to train your brain just like you train a little puppy to start focusing on possibilities instead of limitations, on lessons rather than seeing it as obstacles or threats, and on what could go right instead of what could go wrong. But in order to do that, you need an anchor, and this anchor is the vision of where you are going. Because without knowing where you're going, you're just going to be drifting. You're going to be drifting back to limitations, to doubts, to shoulds and shouldn'ts. While when you have a vision, you can start consciously and intentionally directing your focus, directing your energy towards the outcome you want. Does that make sense? So today I'm going to walk you through a process that helps you to get that clarity. And by the end of the session, you will have a framework to identify what is it that you want in one area of your life. Start learning how to consciously shift your focus from what's not working to what's possible, and create momentum towards your outcome, your desired outcome, whether it's in your career or relationship or health or purpose or life in general. Does that sound good? So before we get started, I'm actually going to be transparent and let you know that at the end of my presentation, Maria is going to share something very exciting. Her and I have been planning together for a few months. So if this resonates with you, if you feel sense of excitement, curiosity, maybe even relief or hope, then I suggest you stick around and listen to what Maria will share, because that's literally going to transform your entire life. But back to me now. I want to share something very personal about myself, how I ended up in this space. About 9 or 8 years ago, my life literally lost its meaning. Not that it's lost its meaning, but everything just felt so meh. I was in this place with no clarity where I wanted to go. And on a paper, my life was perfect. It was a picture of success, 6 figures, private school for kids, great family, holidays, investment property, everything looked perfect, but inside was a totally different story. I felt like I was misplaced, like I couldn't find, like, like I couldn't find place for myself. And I got to the point where even my social circles, the things that I used to enjoy and give me some sense of fulfillment and excitement, they felt flat. And I literally thought, am I having a midlife crisis? And then in 2018, I went to a 7-day retreat in Brighton with Dr. Jody Spencer. I don't know if you guys heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza. If not, I really suggest you Google him and YouTube him. But anyway, the reason I went there is because I wanted to really answer those two lifelong questions I've always had. Who am I and what is my purpose? And also to be able to say what I thought. Let me know, guys, if you're struggling also to say what you think because you don't want to upset others, because you've got this massive fear that if you disappoint somebody, that's just going to be like death. So you'd rather keep disappointing yourself. And that's where I was. And that was draining. What I witnessed in those 7 days have completely shifted my entire perspective on life. I saw people having spontaneous recoveries from Parkinson, arthritis, fibromyalgia. I met people who have overcome and healed themselves from stage 4 cancer. It was literally blowing my mind. And even within myself, I started feeling changes, especially after this one meditation where we were guided to step into our ideal future, into this dream life. And I remember I didn't really have a vision of where I was going. I had no clarity. So in that meditation, and also just for transparency, if you go, I can't meditate, it's just really winding me up. I really struggle to meditate. I still do. My mind goes everywhere. Like it just won't sit still. But even with that, you can still make a huge progress if you persist. So, anyways, during that meditation, I had two visions. In the first vision, I was surrounded by the elderly people, and they were like laughing, drinking a cup of tea. And I thought to myself, that is really weird. What does this have to do with my life? Back then, I was in corporate IT, and I was designing workflows and doing some coding. It had nothing to do with working with elderly. And I remember thoughts came to me thinking, well, if I ever run a business like that, for some reason, I assume it was a business, I'm going to call it Driving Miss Daisy. The next vision was even more absurd. I saw myself walking out onto the stage, like mic'd up and my name being called. And I was like, well, that's never going to happen. I had a stage fright, fear of public speaking. In the meetings, I would never even lift up my hand to speak. Now, after the retreat, I went back home and I started playing with those two visions and applying tools and techniques I've learned, and also opening myself up to a possibility. What if it was true? And I felt quite excited, like, wow, imagine if my life could just be that. For a few months, nothing was really happening in my world. But towards about end of that year, I received an email from a charity called Age UK, who told me about a local franchise up for sale. And the franchise purpose was to provide companionship and transport to a local community. And guess what the name of franchise was? It was exactly the same name that came to me in meditation, Driving Miss Daisy, just like a movie, right? I mean, I remember I had this chills. I was like, how is that even possible? So the next day, I called our nearest branch, had a meeting, took out a loan, and a week later, I bought a franchise. And now, 7.5 years later, I'm still running it with a small team. In the meantime, invitations to speak started coming. First events, firstly, small events, online masterclasses, webinars, and then it was Germany, Denmark, I don't know, all over Europe. And then I ended up going to Zimbabwe to run a retreat there, and Canada, where I met Maria. And what used to terrify me became the most exciting and aligned things in my life. And if somebody told me that years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that would have been my life, I never would have believed them ever. But here I am. And it all started with a vision and choosing to believe in possibility, even if the mind did not know all of the steps. And this is the reason why I'm sharing with you this story. And by the way, this is not just like a one-off case. I've had so many things like that happening to me where I would imagine, I would visualize, I would play with it, and it just happens in my life. And it's just so much more exciting than spending years and years grinding and efforting, trying to get to your outcome completely exhausted. You see, the thing is, if you are in crossroads, whether it's in your career, on your purpose, in relationship or health, if you don't know, if you don't have the clarity on your path forward, but feel that pull, that something else is meant for you, that pull is real. It's the signal that the next chapter of your life is waiting for you. And what I know from personal experience and from clients I've been working with is the more you ignore that feeling, that misalignment, the more you try to talk yourself out of it, the more you justify why you should be happy with what you have, the harder you push it and shove it down, the more disconnected your life begins to feel. And over time, the tension builds and builds and builds inside. And then it manifests as stress, anxiety, burnout, all because you're living out of alignment with yourself. So, where in your life do you feel that pull? Where are you unsure or restless or at the point where some sort of decision needs to be made? Maybe it's in your career, relationship, your purpose. And when you think about that disconnect, where in a body do you feel it? Maybe it's like tension or anxiety. Maybe it's like a tight jaw or like shoulders or a neck or like that knot in your stomach. Now imagine for a moment that area of your life is completely resolved. That block, that crossroads no longer exist. Your career is thriving. Your relationship is perfect. Your health is amazing. You're living your purpose, waking up full of enthusiasm and joy and energy each and every day. And it's just me saying those words to you. When you take a breath into your body, do you feel some release? Maybe a little bit feeling lighter, some ease? And if you do feel that, if you feel that shift, it's not just your imagination. This is your nervous system recognizing that a different possibility exists for you, even if your mind hasn't figured out how it's possible yet. And that brings me to a very important topic on how, because that's where most people get stuck. They focus on steps, on plans, on logistics, on goals, how I'm going to get there. And that's exactly why they don't create the life they're capable of. Because the logical mind, that's where the hows come from. It's amazing. It's predicting. It would say is what's familiar. It's purely based on your past experiences, past memories. And that's where its limitation is. It cannot see possibilities. It cannot see beyond the known. It anchors in a past. It doesn't care about the present and it's got no clue about the future. And yet we're trying to create our new reality with the same patterns, the same beliefs, the same habits. And then we wonder why nothing significant really changes. So to move forward, we need to learn how to move beyond the how. We've got to tune into that inner signal, our intuition, imagination, the cues from our body. And this is not some metaphysical or spiritual stuff, guys. Science shows that when we engage all of these senses, we are far more likely to start spotting and seeing opportunities, recognizing possibilities where previously we've seen roadblocks and dead ends, and take actions towards our dreams and goals. And this is the process, what I'm going to share with you today. It does exactly that. It gives you a framework to start connecting to your senses so that you can expand your mind to start seeing those opportunities and choices and create life that you're truly meant to live. So before we get started, just want to make sure you've got a pen and paper somewhere to take notes. And obviously you can re-listen to it, but don't do the exercise now, do it after. And then Maria and I would love to know, obviously, how that felt for you. So the first step is you're going to pick one area of your life to focus on. It could be health, relationship, career, purpose. It doesn't really matter, but choose one area. Once you chose it, find some comfortable place. Again, not now, do it later, and put some relaxing music and then close your eyes and imagine it's your future. Let's say 5 years from now. And you already achieved that goal, the perfect body, the fulfilling relationship, your purpose, your career, and ask yourself, how does my life look like now? How do I feel? Who am I spending my time with? What and who do I give my energy to? And just sit with it for a minute and just really feel into it. Don't just think into it, but feel. Imagine it's your reality now. And just replay it. Maybe create like a certain scene, like a movie. Create a short little scene, like 10, 15 seconds, and keep rehearsing it. And then once you start feeling, you may feel like your heart expanding. You may feel like a relaxation, a relief. Then you open your eyes, you take pen and paper, and I do recommend doing it with pen and paper rather than typing, and you start writing it and asking yourself, if nothing could stop me, if nothing was a problem and I could not fail, what would I do right now? And write it down as though this vision is your current reality. And when doubts surface up or when the monkey minds start chatting, put it aside, ignore that, carry on and asking yourself, what next? What next? Empty yourself out. I suggest writing it out 3 times because every time you're going to go deeper and deeper. So that was step number 3. Step number 4, and this is just so important because I see so many people write it once and then they chuck it somewhere and they forget it and they're like, oh, it doesn't work. Yeah, because you've got to train it now. It's like a muscle. It's like when you run for a marathon, you train. You're not just going to go for a 5K run once. You're going to build up on it consistently. So what you then do, you can either read it, your vision, every night and evening, or you can record it. And that might be easier if you're a busy person, if you're driving, and then you play it to yourself. Instead of reaching out for a phone and watching news first thing in the morning, you play your vision in the morning, at night, and especially when those doubts come up, especially then. And when that happens, you listen to that vision you wrote and you ask yourself, if I was this person now, how would I be showing up? What would I say? And what would I do? And then do that. The whole point of this exercise is for you to operate as that version of yourself who has already achieved the goal, not where you are right now, because right now you don't know how to do that. But when you shift yourself to the end, that version of you knows all the answers. And this is how you move forward in life, not by overthinking, by planning, analyzing, by getting more advice, but by tuning into the version of yourself that already knows, but tuning into what your body, your intuition, and imagination already know. Because the life you are meant for hasn't yet arrived, not because you're not capable, but because you're still operating from the same identity and the same patterns. And until you change them, until you change your habits, your energy, your beliefs, your decisions to align with the life that you truly want, you will keep spinning in circles, copying and pasting your past into the future. And even if you finally get there, the cost will be too high. Because to create a new reality, you need a new personality. I'm going to repeat that. To create a new reality, you need a new personality. So if what I've shared to do with you now, if that resonates, if that sparked some curiosity or hope or relief, then Maria is going to take you further and explain to you what we have put together for you to take this into the next step, because this is just the beginning. Maria, over to you.
Thank you, Lena. And even though you shared with us for a few minutes your framework, I think it's quite powerful because as I was listening to you, there are some insights as well coming to me while listening to you. So for those of you who are watching us right now, if maybe something came up to you while listening to Lena, it could be a thought, it could be a question, or it could be like just that quiet sense that something needs to shift. Uh, those are insights that are quite powerful. We know that insights are powerful, but if you don't sit on that insight, if you don't act on that insight, it will just go away. And so that's why Lena and I have created this leadership reset for women happening in Greece this coming June 18 to 27, for women to have that space to sit with it, to sit with that insight that they have, to work on that insight that they have. So, away from the pressure of the normal environment that you're in, away from the normal responsibilities that you're in, because we need to create a space to be able to really absorb what we really need to do to reconnect with our intention and our purpose. So, in this particular trip, it's a journey. It's a women's journey wherein we will be traveling to different cities and islands in Athens, in Greece. So we'll be journeying with you over the next 9 days in June in Athens. We'll be visiting the different islands in Greece like Santorini, Naxos, and Mykonos. So part of this experience is the leadership reset that Lena has prepared for you. Over the course of the next 9 days, you will have the opportunity to gain that perspective while visiting the different cities and islands. You will have that opportunity to slow down while visiting, for example, Naxos, which is quite, a perfect island to slow down. And of course, when we get to Santorini and Mykonos, it's an opportunity for us to reconnect with intention. In Mykonos, we will have the leadership reset session with Lena. And I want to highlight too that this is quite a very unique trip or retreat, because if you've done retreat in the past, you may have stayed in a certain hotel or resort for a number of days without having to go out, right? You're just sitting there listening to the facilitator. But with this particular retreat or journey, you will have to go through that experiential learning in moving through the different places in Greece while having that opportunity to reflect, to rest, and to have that conversation with like-minded women. You will have the space and the time to pause. You will have the support to process what's shifting inside you. And again, you will have that environment to reconnect with your values, with your direction, with your purpose. And I will be typing in the chat here the link so you can get more information about this trip or this retreat journey. And yes, so click on that one. We are intentionally having this particular trip with a small group of women. We would like to invite 15 women to journey with us from June 18 to 27 to experience this reset. So if you feel that that's the right time for you to pause, to do reset, and to reflect on what's the next step for you before the year ends, now is a good time to consider this trip. From now up until March 6th, we do have an early bird discount rate. And so if you are really considering joining us, now is a good time to pause and, have and make a decision to secure your place. If there are some questions about this, feel free to connect with me and Lena. But for now, I think I've covered that particular portion, exciting portion. And again, we would love you to join us because this is going to be quite a different experience for everyone. You will leave not just without a notebook full of notes, but you will leave with clarity, with the right direction, clear next steps on what to do next for the rest of the year. Lena, any other parting thoughts or additional thoughts?
Yeah, in order to create any change in our lives, to stop chasing those outcomes that never really feel satisfying and fulfilling, at least not in the long run, we cannot afford to stay in the same environment, because true transformation can only happen when we step outside our known surroundings, because our current environment where we are, it actually determines what we accomplish and what kind of goals, what kind of vision we can even have for ourselves, because we are products of our environments. And even the people closest to us, no matter how much they love you, how much they support you, they often cannot support you because they cannot hold that vision for you, or even they can't even imagine you expanding into something like that. And that's why this retreat was being created, a space where we all come together to free ourselves from the limitations and the old patterns and old habits that are no longer supporting us, and support each other in becoming a better, a higher and more expansive and expensive version of ourselves. Because in Greece in June, that's where you stop planning and actually start living the life you're meant to live. So join us. We hope to see you there.
To that, because Lena is journeying with us all throughout those 9 days. You have an opportunity to connect with Lena, have that real conversation with her, get that support that you need all throughout the trip, right? Not just on that specific day that we're doing the leadership reset session. It's really an experiential learning and experiential reset for everyone joining us in Greece.